We also have our traffic campaign update. If you remember last week, our Victoria Police Traffic Section did a traffic campaign targeting unsafe drivers. So our traffic section wrapped up its week-long target enforcement campaign on Friday. The project resulted in over 50 speeding tickets, along with numerous other offenses that were documented. The traffic section wrote a total of 113 tickets during this successful project. The intent of the campaign was to raise awareness of enforcement and the positive impact of smart driving habits have on drivers. There's an additional focus on the impact of vulnerable road users, which includes cyclists and pedestrians and motorcycles. The VicPD traffic section would also like to give a special thank you to the Speedwatch volunteers, to the Integrated Road Safety Unit, URSU, and to the Saanich Police Traffic Section who assisted on Friday with this enforcement.
Of those 113 tickets, and I know you were also ticketing for pedestrians, cyclists, not obeying rules of the road or walking in a safe and correct fashion.
Yes, sir.
How many of those 113 were they all Motor Vehicle Act?
No, I have, if I just look down, I have a list here. So I have 4 bicycle offenses right there. Disobeyed traffic control device, that could be a walking one as well. And but for the most part, I think it was vehicles that we had going here.
What were there for bicycle infractions?
They're not broken down any further, but typically that'll be riding on sidewalk, riding without a helmet, or things like that. So, yeah. Any other questions on that one? All right. So we have an update into the disappearance of Robert Slaughter. So April 2011 marks the 2nd anniversary of the disappearance of Mr. Robert Slaughter, and VicPD detectives are requesting the public's assistance in gathering any new information that will help locate Mr. Slaughter. Mr. Slaughter was last seen on April 4th, 2009 in his residence in Esquimalt where he lived alone. Since that time, detectives have been actively working on locating Mr. Slaughter. Mr. Slaughter was an avid cyclist and competed across BC in several races. However, in the last few years, Mr. Slaughter battled substance abuse and was known to members of the downtown community. Mr. Slaughter has family here in Victoria and they desperately want to find him. VicPD would like to talk to anyone who may have had contact with Mr. Slaughter in March or April of 2009. And any interaction during that time may provide police with crucial information. Anyone with information is requested to contact Detective Laurie Beauvais at 250-995-7256 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS, which is 8477. And Detective Beauvais is here if you do have any questions.
So is there any indication of foul play?
No.
Yeah, Laurie, if you want to come up.
I'm Detective Laurie Beauvais, for those of you that don't know, and I work in the Victoria Police Major Crime Unit. There's been no indication of any foul play associated to Mr. Slaughter's disappearance.
Is there any, because I know last time they talked about tracking his credit cards or bank cards, anything. Is there a cell phone? Is there any tracking of him across the country?
He lived a simple life, Mr. Slaughter. He had one bank account which we had monitored at the time, and we've even revisited that particular bank account. It remains closed and it remains inactive. We have no information that would lead us to believe that he's still here in the Victoria area, but we are hopeful that someone would have seen him at the time. We're talking probably March or April 2009, or even any individual that might have any information that would help us assist, maybe some type of lifestyle behavior or anything that can help us. I will add that Mr. Slaughter was very comfortable in the outdoors. He was an avid hiker, is the information that I have, and he was quite familiar with the Sault Jordan River area. Mr. Slaughter's only means of transportation was on his bicycle, which he did not have in his possession at the time of his disappearance. So we're expecting that he probably was given a ride somewhere, and we're hopeful that any individual either saw him either hitchhiking on the road or even better had offered and given him a ride to any location. We would like to speak to that particular individual.
So you say you don't think he's in the Victoria area, but do you think that he's still on the island?
We have no information, but I remind you that there are persons that can slip in away from our society, from our community rather, and go undetected and continue to live, probably not in this community, but another community. And maybe is still living on the island. We just can't say. We have no information and no belief that there's been any foul play. But we have no belief, too, that, or any information that would let us believe that he's living elsewhere. We just simply don't know. We're looking for any information. The family, it's been 2 years. They're very distraught by his continued disappearance, and they want to put some closure to this. Even if he is located living in another community, they would just like to know that he's doing well.
When is the last time you received new information about him?
It was probably in the days, if not weeks, following his disappearance. And he was last seen April 4th, 2009 by his landlady. We believe that he was in his home on April 8th, just based on the information or the evidence, if I can use that term, found in his apartment. But he has not been reported as seen after April 8th of 2009. Any other questions? Great.
All right, if that's it for that one. So we have there's a fight that grew out of control at an Esquimalt house party. So 2 women are facing charges of assault following a fight that grew out of control at an Esquimalt house party early Saturday morning. Just after 3:30 a.m. Saturday morning, Victoria Police received multiple 911 calls concerning an assault that was taking place in the 600 block of Constance Avenue. Several officers were sent, and they arrived to find a 19-year-old woman lying in the street surrounded by several other people. Initial reports have suggested that she suffered from serious injuries. It appears that the victim had initially been in a fight with another female after some form of argument escalated at the party. The 2 women fought in what was believed to be a consensual fight before being broken up. Apparently not satisfied with the outcome, the fight resumed, but this time a 3rd female joined in. The fight moved outside the home, and the lone woman was overwhelmed by the pair. Other partygoers reported that the 2 kicked and stomped when the female was on the ground. Numerous patrol units attended the scene, including VicPD's Forensic Identification Services, who spent hours documenting evidence both inside and outside the house. The 2 women were arrested and held for telebail hearings over the weekend, each for charges of assault. Keisha Schusterman, a 23-year-old Victoria woman, was released from custody following her hearing and is due back in court on May 18th. And Haley Lagos, a 22-year-old Esquimalt woman, faced an additional charge of breach and appeared in court yesterday. And I don't have an update on that yet. The victim was released from hospital following a brief observation period, and she sustained a broken nose, some facial injuries, and bruising over her midsection.
Where were the 2 women arrested?
Nearby. They were arrested near the location.
Was it other people at the house party, who called police?
There was numerous calls, so yeah, there was a few that were at the party that called us.
2 dogs were supposedly taken away by CRD Animal Control. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, that was part of our investigation. We had to make sure our officers were safe while they were in the suite and doing all their forensic identification work in there. So we had to have them taken away for a bit.
It wasn't related.
They weren't. I don't believe they were apprehended. I can't speak to it for sure, but I believe it was just for the safety of our officers.
So is this an apartment or a house?
Duplex, I believe it is.
Any calls to that address in the past that you know of?
I haven't looked that up, sorry.
Are the 2 women known to police?
Can't say.
I have a note here, I don't know if this said possibly Francis were bagging an ear, evidence marker number 3. Any?
An ear?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Yeah,
No,
I
certainly
figured you would
not.
have mentioned that.
Yeah, I probably would have mentioned that one. That would probably been a big one.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions on that one? No? All right, yesterday we had a female thwart an attempted purse snatching by dousing the thief with coffee. I don't know if you heard about this. But an attempted purse snatching yesterday morning was thwarted after the intended victim doused her thief with her morning coffee. Just before 7 a.m., near the intersection of Blanchard Street and Pandora Avenue, a 45-year-old Victoria woman ended a struggle for her purse by throwing coffee in the face of her would-be robber. The man gave up the fight for the purse, and the woman sent him running with a couple whacks from her umbrella. The three bystanders came to the woman's aid after the attempted robbery and helped provide police a detailed description, which led to the apprehension of the male. The suspect didn't get far, and he was spotted by police in the 900 block of Pandora Avenue. The officer saw a man matching the description who was carrying a white sweater soaked with coffee. The man had been wearing the sweater at the time of the robbery. A 36-year-old Victoria man, Michael Crowhurst, surrendered to police without incident and was transported to our cells. He was the subject of a telebail hearing later in the day for a charge of robbery. The woman wanted to thank the three men for coming to her assistance as well, and expressed her relief to police that the suspect was arrested. She had just moved to Victoria over the weekend.
Roughly how old was the woman?
45. Yep. Any other? No. All good? All right. For the first time in British Columbia, vehicles involved in repeated incidents of impaired driving have been fortified by the province after related files were referred to a civil forfeiture office by Victoria Police Department. Solicitor General Shirley Bond said it's clear that some drivers refuse to get the message that drinking and driving is against the law. That's one of the reasons we have separate civil forfeiture legislation that specifically targets vehicles and any other property used in a way that endangers the life and limb. She went on to say that I want to thank the Victoria Police Department for working with us in these cases. A referral by our department to the Civil Forfeiture Office has resulted in the successful forfeiture of two of the region's most prolific impaired drivers' vehicles. The Civil Forfeiture Act enables a BC Supreme Court judge to order vehicles forfeited if they have been operated in a manner that was likely to cause death or serious injury. Victoria Police Chief Constable Jamie Graham said, "This sends a resounding message that we'll take whatever steps necessary to get the message to impaired drivers that their behavior is criminal and wrong." With the civil seizure of an impaired person's vehicle, in combination with the new immediate roadside prohibition legislation, we have seen a real and tangible result in protecting the lives of British Columbians. So Stephen Henry, a 30-year-old Victoria man, had his 1993 Honda Accord seized by the province after several recent drinking and driving offenses. In April of 2010, Henry was charged with impaired driving twice in a 10-day period and was the subject of other related traffic complaints. He was convicted of both offenses, and later that month, police successfully revoked his driver's license for a 10-month period with support from the Office of the Superintendent of Motor Vehicles. Anthony Raymond, a 63-year-old Saanich man, had his 1996 Chevy Suburban seized after impaired driving conviction in November of 2009. Raymond was stopped near his home after several 911 calls came in about an impaired driver who was driving recklessly and endangering lives. Raymond's arrest came just weeks after a previous impaired driving arrest in which he had a blood alcohol level of 3 times the legal limit. Saanich police pulled over the vehicle after a witness reported a car between lanes on the Pat Bay Highway.
So can they just go buy another car?
They can. Yeah, that's one of the things in the legislation is you're able to take that asset, but you can still acquire others. But it certainly does send a message that, yeah, you can go buy another car, and if you continue to do this, then we're going to continue to take them.
So you said this is the first time this has happened in BC, and this is from Victoria arrests and...
From Victoria arrests, yep. There's our traffic section that compiled this. Constable Andy Dunstan took the lead on both these files.
Has it been tried in BC before, do we know?
I don't know if it's been tried.
Is this a new legislation, or is this always...
Civil forfeiture has been around for quite a while. This is the first time we've used it in relation to impaired drivers' vehicles. Typically we use it seizing a drug trafficker's vehicle or money related to that, houses, equipment, that sort of thing.
Do you know an update on those two men? Like, are they on driving prohibitions or like they're not in jail?
I don't have updates on those, sorry, Katie.
Can we get that?
Yep.
When both the men were charged initially with impaired driving, and kind of a follow-up to what Katie just asked, were they under prohibition at that time?
I don't know. I don't know.
When did police draw the line where, so, you know, there's a couple incidents for this guy in a couple of weeks, but, you know, where do you draw the line when you recommend to civil forfeitures that this vehicle should be taken? Whereas, you know, does it have to be a certain amount of incidents in a couple of weeks? Does it have to be over a span of a couple of years? How does that?
Yeah. No, I understand the question. It's all the aggregating circumstances around it, right? There's not only your couple impaired driving offenses, but there's other traffic complaints, other investigations the officers go through. So certainly we're cognizant of the fact that we're not going to run out there and every person we charge with impaired driving, we're going to try and seize their vehicles. But it's these longer term offenders with horrendous driving records, with criminal records for impaired driving. So those are the folks that endanger the lives of BC residents, and that's who we're going to go after.
Do you think this sets a precedent that other police forces will start to use this tactic?
Oh, it certainly does, yeah. And it'd be nice to see. It is a very good piece of legislation. The Civil Forfeiture Office is wonderful to work with, and they're very supportive of helping us out.
The Saanich man, was he originally observed in Victoria and therefore it became a Saanich matter because he was apprehended by his home in Saanich, or how did that all come about?
I'm not sure, Scott, sir. Any other questions on that one? No. All right, that's all I have.
Okay. If we could, yeah, I'd like to know their kind of driving history, like.
Yeah, we can get into as much detail as we can. Yep.
Any word on Mr. Bedore?
Nothing yet. No. We did the release on Saturday, did some clips yesterday with various media, but nothing yet. We're still looking for him. We're still concerned about him, but we're actively out there.
Any indication he's left the region?
We have nothing right now. We don't know where he is, so it's hard for us to say.
Where was he staying in Victoria?
He was down the 500 block of Johnson.
He was living in that
Yeah.
area? And that's where he was last seen?
That is Friday at about 1 o'clock.
Okay. And was he meant to check in daily with his parole officers and hires?
There is a time frame.
Okay.
So he exceeded the time frame that he was allowed out, and then just wasn't heard from him. So he has to check in after he gets back, and then we just didn't hear from him after that.
Would you mind recapping the whole case for those of us I don't think that got a clip with you yesterday?
Sure. We're looking for Mr. Bedore. He's a 62-year-old Caucasian male. I'll do a description first. He's about 5'8", 172 pounds, with gray hair and blue eyes. He is the subject of a Canada-wide warrant right now, and that was issued by the Victoria Parole Board, or the parole officer that he reports to, as he failed to report as of Friday at 1 o'clock. So we've been actively looking for him since then. He's finishing up serving a 7-year sentence and released on a long-term supervision order that goes until 2018. So with those come conditions. One of the conditions is that he has a curfew, and that's what he was in breach of at that time. So the warrant was issued, and we haven't been able to track him down since.
Sorry, and what was he serving a sentence for?
For sexual assault.
Perpetrated in this area?
Don't know.
It was the mainland.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We did do a release in January of this year, a public notification on that.